Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Phil Brown. This is a second post today, Wednesday, the 7th of November. This is day 99 of posting my concerns about the future services for South Tyneside Hospital. People in the trust keep saying, oh, we're not closing the hospital. However, if we lose the key core and essential services, which I keep repeatedly saying are adult A&E, children's A&E, midwifery, special care baby unit, it follows as a consequence that there will be a diminution of orthopaedic services and other acute services. This will have a massive impact on our population on South Tyneside of 167,000 people. And I don't believe for 1 minute that they will be able to cope up at Sunderland Royal with an influx of 17,000 extra children's referrals to A&E every year and 63,000 adults. We are living in difficult times. The head of the trust has talked about a tsunami of pressures on the service, a tidal wave of pressure on the trust itself. They brought out a document called Working Together. When you look at it, it really is very light on text and a few graphics and a few small paragraphs, but it's inconsequential because it doesn't really say exactly what's going to happen. And the consultation as such is eclipsed by the 2006 NHS Act, which more or less says in section 262, 252, that the trust don't even have to negotiate or consult with the local populace. It said, we plan and prepare for the tidal wave of pressures we know are facing us. This kind of rhetoric and language doesn't help people at all. And when it talks about in order to transform health and local care, there are three main pillars: prevention out of hospital and in hospital. I'll come to prevention last, but it talks about out of hospital. And I'm not knocking the voluntary sector, but when it talks about this is how NHS social care and community voluntary organisations work together to provide more responsive care, the basic assumption is more and more will be done voluntarily. Ever since the Tories brought in their Social Care Act and they fudged the budgets between local authority social care and healthcare, it then said in hospital, this is the Path to Excellence programme, which is the subject of the draft case for change document and this summary document. I mean, how can you call it a document? Simple graphics, less than at best a square inch of text. It then goes on and it says, we are relying on the goodwill of staff working together longer hours or extra shifts, which poses a risk to the health and well-being of our staff. And they have told us this cannot continue. Cannot continue because the staff haven't had a rise basically in nearly 10 years. You know, I worked as a hospital porter before I trained as a nurse. I used to clock on and clock off. I would willingly do the same again because the time owed and the money that would have to be paid would have to be paid. We are relying on employing a temporary workforce, locum agency staff, which is not only expensive but not good for quality of care. A bit late in the day now, you know, it's gone on for years, £11 million a year it's cost. It said it's difficult to attract and retain more staff due to poor work-life balance. No, the problem lies with the trusts exploiting the staff, infringing the work-life balance, then trying to get staff to feel insecure because they don't know what's going to happen with the future of South Tyneside Hospital. And by the time they go to hive off acute facilities, I know for a fact a lot of nurses won't want to go and work in Sunderland. They've made it clear. They've actually rejected the proposal, the staff have, to go and be part of a wholly owned subsidiary with Sunderland. They want to remain as an independent trust. The Sunderland Trust have got debt of between 127 and 147 million pound. So this cannot continue. And it's suddenly like, oh, everything's going to be great if we merge with Sunderland. No, it's not. The problems are there now. The cracks are already there. And then it talks about what are our ambitions to address the key challenges, use a different skill mix of staff and innovative workforce models to improve access to clinical support services and specialist services. It talks about the areas that they hope to provide other service provision to. They're struggling already to maintain radiography services. This is happening all over the country. In Essex, from tomorrow, a centre that provides radiology and oncology services won't be able to do it anymore. It's going to be unable to provide that service. And this is what we're faced with now. The absolute collapse of local services. I'm not talking it down, but the money isn't there. The wages aren't going to be there, whatever your work-life balance. But if you're in South Tyneside and a nurse, and the trust suddenly say, well, that's it, we're going to close key departments, take it or leave it, move to Sunderland, be part of a different group, be part of a privatised subsidiary, then they're not going to be any better off. So please share these posts as I continue to fight to ensure that people on South Tyneside know that we are going to court in December and we will fight for our key core and essential services. Let all of your family know we're not going to give up. We're going to keep on stepping it up all the way down to going to court in December, because we believe we can win. We believe that the trust, despite its documentation and all of these little booklets which have got very little meaning and text in them anyway, talking about working together, it's not going to work. We need to stay as a separate trust. We need to get extra government funding. Labour government will go ahead and renationalise the NHS, and it will rebuild Britain. But in the meantime, we have a duty to fight to make sure that we don't lose the key core and essential services at South Tyneside Hospital. Second post of the day, please share.